What is up, monotypers? Today is another talk show day, and as you all would know, I have been busy. I've been busy getting into college and stuff. So I'm glad to be doing these types of videos. I'm actually surprised I have as much time as I do, but um, regardless, today's topic is going to be a little bit more nuanced. So instead of it being like a general topic, it's going to be about monotype for once, and not like talking about the community or like activity and stuff in mono. It's actually going to be like talking about the metagame itself. And I just want to mention types. Just just talking about like type viability, I guess, is what I want to talk about today. Yeah, no, types in this game are obviously very polarizing. There's obviously terrible matchups. There's some types that are just not as good as others. There's some types that literally do other types' jobs better. There's that. But yeah, I would say, especially in Gen 8, picking a type is very, very hard, especially to start with. But I think in Gen 8, I think in every monotype generation, there's always at least one, two to three types that are usually pretty beginner friendly and pretty easy to get results with. Because I think in Gen 7, the easy types were Fairy, probably not Psychic, but Fairy Normal when it was good. I think Normal when it was good was definitely a good beginner type. I think Normal's still a good beginner type, but back when it was good, it was very, very good as a beginner type. Next type would be Water, definitely. I think Gen 6 would also be Water, because I remember Bondi, Bondi, who was the tier leader, I believe, back when I was starting in Monotype in Gen 6. He gave me a Water team, and I was able to use it, actually get results with it, and it was a pretty good time. Now, I didn't become a water main, per se. In fact, I really don't like using water that much. But, yeah, no, it's just, it's incredibly interesting how water is just, like, very versatile across the generations. Aside from that, I want to talk a little bit about, how people seem to have this perception. Sorry about that. There's something I couldn't control. But, yeah, I think we're talking about how certain people like to main types, and type maining is it's good if you're beginning, but when you stop, like when you start like trying to head into tournaments, you should stop maining types and you should be able to start expanding the amount of types you use. Because some users are able to use like two or three types and do pretty well. Like Terrace is a great example. Chaitanya also only uses like a few types and he still does incredibly well. And a bunch of other players are able to just basically brain dead and use like a few types and just be able to do very well in the tournaments. But not everyone can be like that, and especially if you're beginning, you're probably not going to be able to do that. So you need to be very varied. Otherwise, you become very easy to see team, or you might lose to someone that normally you should beat because you're not used to using a different type. Thankfully, in monotype, if you're really good at monotype, it doesn't really matter what type you use. You'll probably be able to put up solid results regardless. But type maining is definitely very bad to your growth, especially if you keep doing it after you're done being a beginner and you get your hands on the metagame. Like, once you get your hands dirty with the metagame, maining a type becomes bad. And I speak from experience because I used to be a die-hard fighting main back when I was in Gen 7, I believe. I think early Gen 7, Gen 6. I was a very die-hard fighting main, and I only used fighting. I would only play with fighting, and I would only bring fighting to tournaments. Well, actually, I didn't bring fighting to my first tournament ever, where I got thrashed by RMBS's Steel, which, ironically, I probably would have won if I had brought fighting. But yeah, I think I brought a sample team for that. But aside from that, moving on from that, yeah, maining the type, I was just not able to grow because even though I was very good at using the type, I just still wasn't able to grow as a player because I didn't use other types. I wasn't familiar with other play styles, and it really pigeonholed me. And it made it very hard for me to use like balance, and it made it hard for me to use stall and bulky offense. It was just very hard for me to adjust. And it took me a really long time to actually get my hands on the metagame enough so that I could actually use other types like balance. And I think taking a break near the end of Gen 7 definitely helped me a lot with like being able to play all the archetypes perfectly. Well, I wouldn't say perfectly, but I definitely do it a lot better than how I used to. So I still prefer offense, but I do think I'm way better now with using balance, stall, and bulky offense a lot more, especially in monotype. But yeah, I think for the most part, monotype mating a type in monotype is like really bad. I said this multiple times, but I really want to drive this point home. You just can't do it after a certain point. Because, like, let's say you wanted to pick up the metagame and you saw a bug had some really cool mods. Let's say Scizor is your favorite Pokemon. So you're just like, oh, I want to use Scizor. I'm going to use Bug because I think that's the type it's the best on. Because why would I use it on Steel? It's weak to Fire. I want to beat Fire with Steel, and I want to use Scizor. Let's just say that's your logic, and you decide to use Scizor on Bug. You go use Bug, and you're just like, hey, this type is really cool. I'm gonna keep using it. That's fine. What I'm trying to say is that once you actually start going into tournaments, and maybe let's say you get to like 1600s on ladder, and you're just like, wow, I really love Bug. I think I'm gonna go to tournament with it. It's okay if you bring it the one time, but if you only use Bug teams the entire time while you're in tournament, it's very easy for your opponent to prep against you. If you're like up against another random in like a seasonal tournament, then yeah, you'll be fine. But if you're up against like a notable player, they're gonna scout you out. They're gonna know exactly what you're gonna bring, and if you try and bring the same Bug team, even if you have like multiple teams of like Bug, for example, like let's say you have a team that helps you that's tech to beat Fire, for example, or you have a team that's tech to beat Steel better than you normally do. But yeah, let's say you have a team that's tech to beat Steel or a team that's tech to beat Fire. Doesn't matter. Even if you do have a Bug team for every single type, and once again I speak from experience, I had a fighting team to beat every single type essentially. I had a fighting team to beat Poison. I had a fighting team to beat Flying. I had a fighting team to beat, like, I can actually show you right now, because I still have most of these teams in my builder, because I never get rid of teams for some reason. But yeah, let me go into my fighting team builder. Yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, here's my fighting team builder, and as you can see, there are a lot of fighting teams. So let's see. So I think I should have named them anyway, but yeah, I had a team so here's a team that was specifically meant to beat Steel and to never lose to Steel. Had Specs, Keldeo, Hawlucha, who actually does destroy Steel pretty hard, Mega Gallade, and Como. This is obviously Gen 7, by the way, not Gen 8, because Infernape is here. There's also the Anti-Fairy team, which had Cobalion, Ironhead, Terrakion, Scarf Toxicroak, which was shiny for some reason, I don't know why. Also Specs Keldeo once again. Infernape, which you might be shocked to see, but Infernape actually does do pretty well versus Fairy, especially in Gen 7, because it essentially just gunk-shotted or flare blitzed basically most of the fairies in the metagame, and it beat the Steel Fairies, and it beat the normal fairies because it had access to Gunk Shot, and Choice Band just made its power ridiculous against them. So, and because it was neutral, just like Toxicroak, it did its job pretty well. So, yeah, I could have probably made this Scarf too, but I just decided that I didn't want triple Scarf because back then I only used Scarf Terrakion, but yeah. I probably could have done a better set, but yeah, this just goes to show like how different I was when it came to playing. Here's the Anti-Psychic squad. Here's the yeah, here's the anti-bug and grass squad. Like, yeah, I have all these different techs for different types, but this didn't make me a great. This didn't make me like the ultimate player. And you want to know why it didn't? Because fighting as a type still has weaknesses. Like, even if I made a team that was teched to be fairy, what happened if that team that was teched to be fairy went against a team that went against a type like fire? Like, hang on, let's look at the fairy tech team. So, if we look at this team, you'll probably notice that it's extremely weak to psychic. I mean, fighting is normally weak to psychic, but this one's particularly weak to psychic because you don't have really that many powerful options to beat it. So, well, I think psychic might be a bad example, but let's say electric, for example. This team gets absolutely walloped by electric. There's not really much you can really do about it because your only speed control is Terrakion, and he gets beaten out by Raichu Alola. You have no priority to actually beat out anything else. Also, water definitely wrecks this team very hard, especially rainwater, because even though you have Toxicroak, it still gets earthquaked by Mega Swampert, and Earth powered by Seismitoad if they're running that. And Keldeo's your only resist, besides Toxicroak obviously, which gets earthquaked. And yeah, it's just very hard for this type to deal with that. If I had Breloom, I would be able to deal with it better, but unfortunately I do not have him on that team, so it's very unfortunate. Also, yeah, it's weak to psychic, like I said before. But yeah, this is essentially an example, because I just wanted to prove that, that this team, this strategy is definitely a thing that happens. Do I support that it happens? No. Definitely not. I definitely do not think that this is something that people should do. I think it's very unhealthy, and it did limit my growth a lot as a player. Because even though I was the fighting main back then, that title only holds so much weight when you don't have enough tournament placings to back it up. And as I said, fighting as a type just has so many weaknesses. And it's really hard to win tournaments with fighting. Like, even though it has matchups where it's very good, it has so many other ones against common types that are just not good either. And this applies to every type in the metagame, by the way. Even if I main Fairy, for example, you could still lose a lot if your sets are suboptimal, if you don't play properly, and if people just catch on and start using types like Steel or Poison that beat it, or even Grass. Like, if they bring types that beat your type, or playstyles that beat your type, you're going to get pigeonholed into basically making your Pokemon inefficient against other normal teams, because I teched my fighting teams to be good against certain types, but they just start to lose versus the types that they should normally beat, and that's pretty bad. So yeah, I would definitely say that pigeonholing yourself into one type is a really bad thing, and I really, really hope that you guys never fall into that trap, because it's a really bad trap to fall into. Are you allowed to like one type, like be really interested in one type? Yeah, you're allowed to be super interested in one type. You can have a favorite type. It's not like I'm saying you can't have a favorite type. You can. It's just that it can't be the only type you use. Because if it becomes the only type you use, then you pigeonhole yourself into being only able to use that type, and then you can't use any other type. I've fallen into that trap, and I don't want anyone else to fall into it. So that's kind of why I'm making this video, because I really, really hope that the newer players don't make this mistake, and I really hope that no one falls into this trap like how I fell into it, because I feel like I would be a much better player if I didn't fall into that trap early on in my career, but alas, I did, and I'm still working to recover from that mistake. But if you see this video and you were about to fall into that trap, if I was able to get you out of that trap, trust me, it would mean the world to me if someone actually watched this video and got right out of the trap, because it would mean so much to me if you actually just did not fall into the trap and became a better player because of it. So yeah, I think that's it for today's video. I don't really have anything else to talk about. Leave me suggestions in the comments below if you guys want me to talk about anything else, or to look at something, or to report on something. Let me know. I think the next big tournament thing I'll be doing is probably covering monotype circuit playoffs. I think I'll be doing like a match analysis of all those matches, just to give like everyone a better idea of like what goes through the head of like a competitive player during a match. And I'll probably have someone else online there to help me out there too, because after all, I haven't been drafted to MPL, so not everything I know is going to be the absolute best. So I definitely do think it'll be an interesting experience for everyone. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next time.